in Hudson County news. So, of course, we had the last budget presented by Governor Phil Murphy. Of course, that's for the whole state of New Jersey. And it's a doozy. It's the biggest one to date, nearly $58.1 billion with a B. And we got some new taxes in there, and we also have some financing for some programs that have been allocated in the past, probably 3 to 5 years, some funding for NJ Transit, a whole lot more. So we're going to tell you what's going on over in Trenton. Some Hudson County projects obviously are in there too. And then we got a lot of electoral news. First of all, in the 32nd Legislative District, my councilman, Ward D councilman in Jersey City, Yusef Saleh, will be running with Assemblywoman Jessica Ramirez on Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop's ticket, and that's in the 32nd Legislative District. So that's a crowded field. We got a 6-person race right there, and we're going to talk about that. We also have some updates over in Jersey City. Of course, that's another 2025 race. This one's November 4th and nonpartisan. We have Hudson County Commissioner Bill O'Day announcing a candidate over in Ward F. That's Reverend Keith Garvin Howell. And also, Ward E Councilman James Solomon has a new running mate in Ward A Councilwoman Denise Ridley. So some interesting developments over in Jersey City. We're going to talk about all that and a whole lot more. And I'm also going to sit down with a guest as always, and it's going to be Hoboken 1st Ward Councilman Paul Presinzano. We're just going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Hudson County View live and uncut. John Heinis. So let's talk about the state budget for a moment. Again, it's a really big one. I believe this is the biggest one of all time. This is $58.1 billion, and there's a whole lot to go through. I mean, it was a 75-minute speech. So let me just talk to you about some of his opening remarks. It says, from the farms of Cumberland County to the streets of Jersey City, far too many New Jerseyans are living with deep uncertainty and anxiety about their economic future. Whether it be the skyrocketing cost of eggs or a housing market that is hotter than ever, our state's working and middle-class families are worried on a fundamental level about being able to make their future in the Garden State. We all know well right now the single biggest challenge facing the people of New Jersey is that the cost of living is way too high. So we heard about some things like Anchor NJ, that's that tax rebate program that's been around that came around during COVID, I should say. That's about $1,500 for each resident, depending on your income levels. And they talked about property relief for tenants. I mean, there's a lot here. Obviously, it's a very large budget. We talked about pushing for full-day pre-K, and he talked about no longer doing large cuts for school funding. Also talked about funding NJ Transit. That could be up to $815 million from this corporate transit fee. You eagle-eyed viewers and listeners may recall that's something Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop mentioned in his plan, transit plan for governor. And that could fund up to $815 million for NJ Transit in 2026. And also some of that money is going to go towards the Portal Bridge North in Kearney. Obviously, that's also something that will aid commuters here in the West Hudson area, of course, connecting Hudson and Bergen counties. So there's a lot. We'd be here pretty much all day if we parse through the whole speech. But some other points of note, there's a $6.3 billion surplus. There is something there to continue to fund reproductive freedom for women, of course. The Arrive Together program, which has come to Bayonne, Jersey City. That's where mental health professionals work with the police departments. And there's a $1 million incentive for municipalities that have 16 and 17-year-olds vote. You remember Governor Phil Murphy came to Hoboken a couple months ago, and he met up with State Senator Raj Mukherjee, who was one of the main sponsors there with State Senator Brian Stack, and that's already taken effect in Newark. They did that via a municipal question. So, again, this could be here quite a while, but also talked about $1 billion in cannabis sales tax, and also there's some significant tax hikes on online gambling and internet sports betting, cigarettes, guns, and alcohol. So a whole heck of a lot happening there, as you would expect for a state budget. And actually, one person that we heard from in response was 32nd Legislative District Assembly candidate Katie Brennan, certainly no friend of the governor or his administration. And she said, in part, the governor is right when he says these are not normal times, and we need the state budget to reflect that. The Trump administration is considering extreme cuts to states like New Jersey, along with cuts to programs that millions of families rely on. The state needs to build its reserves and prepare for the worst, not spend down the surplus like this budget proposal does. So, interesting take there. And beyond that, we got a whole lot more, and we'll get into some of that electoral stuff in just a little bit. But first of all, we're going to take a break, and then when I come back, I'll be with Hoboken First Ward Councilman Paul Presinzano.
No one plans on heart disease, but everyone should have a plan for it. We help patients of all lifestyles and medical histories plan for healthy hearts. We offer convenient screenings without judgment, hundreds of preventive programs, and women's heart specialists. And we're the largest cardiac surgery program in New Jersey. Make plans for a healthy heart with RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Hudson County View, live and uncut. John R. Heinis. As I mentioned a few moments ago, today my guest is Hoboken First Ward Councilman Paul Presinzano. Paul, good to see you again.
Pleasure always, John.
All right, thank you. So, I think we've sufficiently knocked out that you're not running for mayor this cycle. Knock on wood. But so tell me, what are you thinking about November 4th? Where is your loyalty, for lack of a better word, lie here?
I think it's early right now, John. We have many of my allies running. I do not want to see another 4 years of the continuation of the Obama administration, so that is my main focus. I'm listening to everyone, and then at the right time, I will back a horse.
So you're not doing anything for any campaign right now?
Right now, I'm just kind of watching. We'll see. There will be more than likely someone that I will back. I'm listening. I think that it's very important that we focus on getting Hoboken back in line, back to basics. Common sense things that we need to do, quality of life issues that I think have gone amok with the current administration and their allies. We've been focusing on national issues and not worrying about, when you step out your door, whether you step in the dog droppings or, you're getting hit by an e-bike or garbage or rats and things of that nature. And I think that's something we need to focus on. And many of my allies are on the council are actually focusing on that, and that's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, so we heard a lot about that in the rollouts of 3rd Ward Councilman Mike Russo and 4th Ward Councilman Ruben Ramos. And, of course, we have two more formal announcements in Emily Jabor, of course, another colleague of yours, and then someone else that used to be a U.S. Treasury official, Aditi Ajmani. And, of course, it looks like Tiffany Fisher is going to be jumping in any day. So was this what you were expected when we were turning the calendar to 2025?
It's silly season. I hate to take the words out of one of my colleagues' mouth. Nothing surprised me in Hoboken anymore. This kind of seems like a 2017 all over. It's not a wartime kind of race where Mayor Bala ran unopposed. I do believe that some of my colleagues probably should have jumped in the race at that time, but chose not to. It's a crowded field. Remember, we have 50+1 in the runoff, so we're definitely going to see a December election. The interesting point is when Deanie came into the race, who else is coming in? There's got to be 2-3 more maybe. And with a large field, the numbers it could be a wild card to what happens. I believe going into this race, it's going to be interesting without the Team Bala persona, let's put it that way. So I'm really curious to see how people pay attention to things. Right now, it's way too early. We discussed earlier that it's just way too early. I mean, people are not thinking about this. We've got the primaries coming up in June, which I think are bigger, and I think some of the federal issues kind of really dominate news headlines right now.
Yeah, that's fair. So, but talking about the ballot, I mean, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, it's the Hoboken mayoral year. We're going to vote for a mayor. The people that pay attention anyway. But that of course is true, but there's also the 3 at-large seats, and we have the special election for the 6 wards. So this is going to be actually a really crowded ballot in November for the Mile Square City, right?
That's absolutely correct. And I think one of the where I sit right now, I'm kind of in a position where I'm going to hold people to the fire. I'm going to ask the tough questions. And I'm not running for mayor, but I think anybody that's running for mayor has to realize that quality of life is a huge, huge thing for me. I believe that you could see maybe one person from each slate potentially get on, and that changes the dynamics of the council. So if we do see a continuation of the Bala team, which I'm not really in favor of, we then have a potential where the council could be 6 or 7 votes, and we have a lame duck mayor. So for me, I don't want to get to that point because I want to see a mayor be able to work with the council and get a lot of things done. We're running into some tumultuous times with some finances. A lot of parks are coming online. Our infrastructure, as we know, is crumbling. With the waterfront, a $30 million bond we had to put in for that because the administration did not actually do the inspections for 10 plus years. And I think some of those things we need to really focus on, and that's why I think that the council races for at-large are extremely important. I don't think people are putting enough emphasis on that right now.
Yeah. Well, we'll see as the clock, the time ticks off the game clock, But speaking of the primary that you briefly mentioned, of course, the mayor, Ravi Bala, isn't running for re-election. He's running for state assembly, 32nd legislative district, and that's a crowded field, too. You already got 6 candidates. And how do you think that shakes out? Are you going to put your support anywhere there?
As of right now, I'm going to sit on the sidelines. My focus has been Hoboken. However, I've been meeting with some candidates, and I think I'll sit down with everybody and listen to them and then make a decision down the road. I know it's probably not the answer you want to hear. However, it's early. And I've only met with 1 or 2 of them. It's interesting. However, in Trenton, I wish I could see some new things happening, but it doesn't always seem that way. I hope whichever candidate or 2 candidates that get in there, there's going to be some more push for some more transparency and maybe some of the Oprah stuff that was passed, that they can maybe find a way to kind of augment that a little bit. I also am, the budget's another big concern for me as a fiscal hawk. I kind of, it scares me that, we have the biggest budget ever. Like you had said earlier as well. So I hope that my representatives can, when I meet them, can explain to me or tell me what they're going to do to make things easier for people in Hoboken.
All right, well, we got a month until the filing deadline. Let's see where we end up there. But don't go anywhere, Paul. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to be back right after this word from our sponsors.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Hudson County View live on Uncut. John Heinis, and I'm still here with Hoboken First Ward Councilman Paul Presinzano. So you're just talking about budgeting and why you've been a very conservative voice when it comes to the finances on the council. So with that, about I guess it was probably 6 weeks ago, there was a new police chief contract. You voted no, and obviously you got pretty animated at one point at that meeting. You weren't too happy with the way that some people took that. So why did you decide to vote no? And let's start there.
I'm a big believer in working or first taking care of the needs of the people that work in the, if you want to say, in the trenches. The patrolmen, management is last to get raises. That's just something how I've run my business. If you have a strong core underneath you, you'll be stronger. You'll have people that'll be more efficient, more proactive, will actually do more things because they love their job. And one of the big things in this is you always hear from many of our public safety officials, or for public safety, is that, you know, going to work not wondering if you're going to get your raise, or you've been working for a year without a contract, you know, that's on the top of your head, and you're trying to put food on your table, and there could be money waiting to get into your bank account that could help do a project or get your son or daughter to school that you need to have. So I think you take care of the rank and file first, and that's where it really upset me, is that I think you should always take care of the people working, not management first. Management's last. That's just the way I run my business when I was in the private sector, and I think it just builds a better culture and a better team spirit, and would make the city better.
And along that line of thought, you voted against one of the firefighter contracts too, right?
Absolutely, same story there. You know, I don't want to say I'm always fighting for the little guy. However, it's just when you have a strong group, if there's 100 officers or 100 firefighters that are upset, it's more stress on leadership. And so if I can make their days a little bit easier, I can reduce the stress at home so family life is better, that's my job. Our budget is 80% salaries. But I just want to see things fair. I believe that anybody that's doing a job, when I worked in my past life, I wouldn't start a job unless I had a contract.
Yeah.
Here, we have people working because they can't strike, or they can't do anything because they're a necessity for our town, that they work without a contract, and then negotiations happen, which I'm not happy about. That's just not the way I think it should work. And so I became animated because I was pushed into a corner by one of my colleagues, thinking that everything up there that we debate is cute. I'm a believer in that, you know, you have to stand up for things, and you just can't go with the flow. And it wasn't anything against police. It wasn't against the chief or the job he's doing. However, it is a fact that I believe the rank and file should be taken care of first, period.
Protocols and procedures, not politics.
Correct.
All right. Now, on this line item, so obviously, like, it's probably going to be a large budget again this year, and there's some ambitious plans. A few you mentioned, but one that we didn't talk about yet is Garage B. Obviously, you guys did vote last time. Where do you think this is going, and what would you like to see here?
Well, I'm, as you know, John, big transparency and accountability. This kind of came up last minute, out of the blue. I stopped it. I said we need to have some community input. There's a lot of questions about how we fund it. And then, of course, some of the concerns were height, came out from other people. That garage produces $4 to $5 million in revenue a year and probably isn't as efficient as it could, so it could be hired more towards 5. That comes offline, that leaves a big hole in the budget. All right, that's one thing. 2, the administration did work with me to say that they would look at it potentially for some educational facilities in there too. However, from my research, this is going to be a very difficult project to get off the ground. When you have 80% workforce housing and 20% affordable housing, you need some help. And I'm not sure that financing or that would happen unless potentially we bond it a large amount for. I'm mixed, because if you look at the building next to it, it's 13 stories, and this one is 25 potentially, and maybe even more, I don't know. But I think there should be more input, not input, but more feeling back from the community on this. It is a parking garage. But I also think we should look at this holistically. We have the police station, and I have 2 other garages just down the street from that. This is in my backyard where I live. And I think that we should be looking at it holistically, not just one piece. We tend to do that in Hoboken. We only look at one thing, because there could be some great things we could do for the community. But I feel as if we're trying to rush this through, and 2 of my colleagues on the council are kind of pushing this real hard, and I don't think they really thought it through.
All right, got it. So real quick before you go, Paul, last Wednesday we heard that Vijay Chaudhary, Mayor Bala's chief of staff, was going to be pursuing private sector endeavors, some consulting work. And then on Friday we heard that Christine Stoll would be the new chief of staff, which doesn't sound like anything to your average resident, but that's actually Mr. Chaudhary's wife. So what do you think about this development?
I think it's ultimately an inside baseball kind of, most people don't even know this, right? They don't know the chief of staff. They don't know anything along those lines. Everybody's eyebrows were raised, the salary, of course, and being a fiscal hawk, that's kind of some issues for me. However, there's 9 months left. So there's light at the end of the tunnel for me. So I'm not going to get myself bogged down in worrying about this. I want to think forward in that Hoboken is going to be in greener pastures come 2026. And this is just another hiccup from the Bala administration that I just have to deal with. And for me, getting my hair on fire, what's left of it, is not worth the time. I think there's bigger things that we have brewing in the mayor's race, and that getting Hoboken back on track is something that I'm going to be focusing on.
Councilman, always a pleasure. Best of luck.
Pleasure.
We'll talk soon. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. We're not done yet. We'll be right back.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights. Your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments. Carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants. All major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
No one plans on heart disease, but everyone should have a plan for it. We help patients of all lifestyles and medical histories plan for healthy hearts. We offer convenient screenings without judgment, hundreds of preventive programs, and women's heart specialists. And we're the largest cardiac surgery program in New Jersey. Make plans for a healthy heart with RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Hudson County View, live and uncut. Chad Heinis. So let's talk about some of this electoral stuff that we haven't got over yet. So again, in the 32nd Legislative District, Jersey City Ward D Councilman Yusef Saleh is running with Assemblywoman Jessica Ramirez on Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop's ticket. Of course, Mayor Fulop is running roughly 3 dozen assembly candidates throughout the state, and the 32nd Legislative District is right in his backyard. He, like myself, is a Heights resident. So with that, let's talk a little bit about Yusef. So I had a chance to speak to him Sunday evening shortly after talk came of him running, and he told me a few things. So he said, as a councilman, I have direct firsthand experience on the struggles people face in my ward, and a lot can be solved at the state level with the funding and implementation of new laws such as pedestrian safety with speed cameras, bail reform, and school funding. This is going to give me a bigger platform to champion my community. So, pretty straightforward. He believes he has the policy chops. He mentioned the pay transparency law. If you guys remember that, that was something where jobs have to obviously list how much they're going to pay without putting those ambiguous salary ranges. Like sometimes you would apply for a job and it would say anywhere between, just making this up, but like 50,000 to like 99,000. Well, now you can't do that anymore. And that ended up becoming a state policy. So that was his point there. So with that said, I mean, this is a very crowded field. On top of the Saleh Ramirez ticket, you also have Jenny Pooh, she's the Hoboken Public Library Director, and Jersey City Director of Buildings and Street Maintenance, Crystal Fonseca. They are running with the backing of the Hudson County Democratic Organization. And of course, you have Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bala, as me and the councilman were just talking about. And right now, him and Jersey City activist Katie Brennan are running as independents. There's still the possibility they could team up. The filing deadline is on March 24th, so let's see what the next month brings. But this is going to be a dogfight. Obviously, 6-person race is not something you're used to seeing, but there's no county line, and these are going to be a lot of candidates that are going to be well financed. So this is going to be a fun one to watch, in my opinion. So moving on to other electoral issues. So again, with Yusef getting into the race, Councilman Saleh, we heard from Mayor Bala just yesterday, and he came out on a Heights issue, which is of course part of the district, and he's in favor of a protected bike lane right in Ward D. So he said, I strongly support a permanent protected bike lane on Manhattan Ave and Franklin Street in the Heights, a corridor which has seen 11 crashes in 5 years, data that speaks for itself. I am hopeful this project will move forward without further delays. So interesting, right off the bat, you could say firing off a shot at Soleil's way. And this came just a couple weeks after Fulop endorsed the plan as well, but Fulop also pointed out that they don't have the votes right now on the city council. Of course, it's a 9-member governing body, so you need 5 votes to do pretty much anything. So that's interesting, obviously. And related was that the council reviewed a resolution to contract a Heights bike lane engineer. This came up at the caucus, and it seems like a lot of people aren't sure about what's going on, and we got some clarity from Infrastructure Director Barka Patel. And I think this is probably the best thing that encapsulates what's going on. She said, we have a requirement by the grant we received, and by the way, that's from the New Jersey Department of Transportation, which is to develop a full design of the project that we would then have to submit to the NJDOT for their approval. We have received quotes and prepared a resolution to award a contract to an engineering firm to aid in the development of those plans. We have a grant deadline in June. We are required to still get the plans developed, get the bid package together, and get the project out to bid awarded by that June deadline to be able to use that grant funding. So I think that's pretty clear, but this is still a project that is very much in limbo. Ward C Councilman Rich Baggiato said that pretty much said he's against it. Council President Joyce Waterman expressed some concerns, as did Ward A Councilwoman Denise Ridley and Councilman at Large Daniel Rivera. So it's not even clear if this is going to make the agenda, but we did hear from a few people this morning into the afternoon on X, and that's Patrick Ambrosi. He's running for Ward D Council. And we also heard from Ward E Councilman James Solomon, who's a mayoral candidate, and Hudson County Commissioner Bill O'Day, another mayoral candidate, and they all came out in favor. So let's see what happens tonight. But honestly, if I was a betting man, I'm going to say this either doesn't make the agenda or gets tabled. Let's see what happens. Now, on the more electoral stuff, let's talk about Councilwoman Ridley. As I mentioned at the top of the program, she's now running with Councilman Solomon on his ticket. So that's a strong duo, a strong team up, if I say so myself. And when we heard from Solomon, he had a few things to say. And basically, I think the easiest way to encapsulate it was this. We must have Denise Ridley back in City Hall for the next 4 years. Give it up for Denise. And, we talked about what she's done for affordable housing, for public safety, specifically pointing out that Bayfront project that's going to have 35% affordable housing. She's the chair of that committee. And, she's done a lot of work on that over the past 5-6 years for a good portion of the time on the council. And, both of these electeds have been there since 2018. And, let's see what happens. That's going to be an interesting race. Of course, a lot of people think that's going to end in a runoff between Ridley and Pam Johnson, who was here a few weeks ago, and she's, of course, the executive director of the Anti-Violence Coalition of Hudson County, and she's running with Bill O'Day. Now, speaking of Bill O'Day, he announced his Ward F candidate, as I also mentioned to you guys, and that's Reverend Keith Garvin Howell. So that's a name that maybe not everyone's familiar with. I mean, I can't say that I was, but it sounds like this is a guy that's going to be playing for keeps, playing to win. So he said in part, too many of our children face barriers in climbing the ladder to success. Too many of our seniors feel that they are left behind, forgotten, and ostracized. I believe in a Ward F where housing is affordable and no family is displaced due to skyrocketing rent. I believe in a Ward F where small businesses can thrive and economic development benefits everyone and not just a select few. Jersey City is not for sale. Ward F is not for sale. So that's an interesting development too. And another thing, we don't really have a whole lot of details yet, but we could say with 100% certainty that U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, of course we largely know them as ICE, were over in the Heights on Monday, and they detained someone at the Dunkin' Donuts. It's right across the street from Christ Hospital. No other details available. I did reach out to ICE for comment, and all I got was a pretty generic boilerplate statement that didn't actually say anything about Jersey City. But we have gotten a letter to the editor since, and that's from Adrian Gonda. And there's going to be a rally in front of City Hall. That's 280 Grove Street tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. It's hosted by the Hudson County Democratic Socialists of America, 32 BJ SEIU, and Cosecha NJ. And this is a rally for immigrants, as they call it. So that's going on tomorrow if you guys are interested. And with that, folks, we're going to call it a week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.